Okay, Joel, we can now resume on IP system installation and configuration. That is for the video surveillance system.
Okay.
Yes. So it's more of the same thing we talk about analog camera. It's just what we're going to repeat here. However, there'll be small difference. So for system connection, so typically the way of connecting the cameras and the NVR is that you use a switch. The best way is to use a switch, or if you have an NVR with PoE ports at the back, you can connect to that at the same time. So if you're going to use a switch, you're going to take the port connecting the switch to the Ethernet port, not the other ports, PoE ports, but to the Ethernet port of the NVR. Then display, so DSS server. So this is just a management platform connected to the common switch and display. And this is client. So this is a server, and you can access the client from the computer. So types of the interfaces for the camera. So if you're going to have a motorized bullet camera, and you remember when you're talking about product introduction, if you see a product name or a DAWA product in the model number having just a Z, that one is a motorized bullet camera. So that's the easiest way to identify a motorized bullet. So the interfaces include audio, input and output. So for input, you're going to use a pickup. For output, you can connect to a speaker. So you have the alarm port. So alarm port, you can connect to external alarm system. You have the power input port. So you can use the power or the PoE. So SD card, 2-direction button. So the two buttons here. So SD card, you know what the SD card functions work for storage. Reset button. So at times you might even have one camera at a site and only work with one camera and do the recording without necessarily having an NVR. So you can have internet, this camera, and you can access the camera from any side, and you can do the recording on the camera. So the 2-direction button, so it works with the 2-direction button support zoom and focus via the 2-direction button on the panel. So you can zoom and focus from this 2-directional button. So analog output, just basic information. In the box, you can see the analog output cable, meaning you can connect the output from this camera to a display directly without having an NVR. So you can have power cable, a software CD, etc. So this is the web client. So installation is more of the same, 3.5 meters maximum for outdoor and 2.5 maximum for indoor. So these are just some things, some of the information that come in the box. So I think these are just a common information that's easy to identify. So we'll talk about this software project design tool later. How you can use it. Yes.
I wanted to ask something.
Okay.
I was seeing the previous picture of the camera, right? It had so many cables, but the ones we have here have only 2 cables, the power and over the network.
Oh, this one.
That one, it has so many cables.
So we have different types of cameras. So others come with this, others come with only these two. like this one here.
Yeah, like that, yes.
Yeah, so it depends with your camera. So it's not a must they come with all those cables. Others can come with only these two. So this is the minimum number of cables the camera can have. Even other cameras like this speed dome camera, you can connect it to an analog, you can connect it to a DVR because it has the analog output signal here. And you can connect the console cable to the DVR or XVR direct. So others like this one supports RS485. So for RS485, you can connect it with a controller, that is the PTZ controller, the network keyboard. So for audio, you can get the audio output or input, alarm output or alarm input. So some of the cameras have more capability. So if you want to reset a PTZ camera, you can open this side here and press the reset button. You hold the reset button for 15 seconds after, and then you power it. So you hold the reset button, power it, then hold it for 15 to 20 seconds, then release the reset button. It will restart and reset. I think these are just more of physical installations which are not hard. Maybe it's, physical installation is more of your experience and how careful you are in the site and how well you prepare the cables. Okay, we have a config tool. I will do the session for these softwares later, but have you interacted with this software config tool?
No, that one there, I have not yet.
Later I will show you how you can use this software to initialize the camera or set the password, IP address, change a bit of settings of the camera, etc. I'll do a session about our software later.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
All right.
So apart from this side, you can do initialization of the camera using the web interface. So what you do, you put your IP of your computer in the same network. So basically you can put your IP address as 192.168.1. maybe 10. Then you go to the web interface. So at this point you have your switch connected to the camera. It's powering the camera and your computer connected to that switch. Then you go to the web interface, preferably Internet Explorer. Then you type this IP address, it will give you this. So it will tell you to put the password of the camera, repeat it, put the email of the camera. Then you can do settings of the TCP/IP. So you can view the camera in the website because it's an IP. So if you cannot view the image, you can download the plugin. It will activate this view. So from the interface, you can see general settings, including serial number, other, etc. Channel name. So channel name, that is the display on the camera. So this, it will tell you the channel name. So depending on your how you want to customize the name. So you can zoom. So you can click here, then do zoom. If it's a motorized, you can focus. You can do autofocus. So it's just something simple. So in corridor mode, it's often used for long, narrow scenes. Costs are cut in 1/2 camera. So traditionally, in corridor mode, you can you would only view. So the 16:9 means that you have the video will be stretched, but in corridor mode, it will like turn the image 90 degrees so that you can have the perfect resolution or perfect view of the surveillance side. So it will view a very long corridor very well. So install the cameras at 90 degrees. So basically, you're installing the camera inverted, like not normal installation, but different kind of installation. Then you go to original scale and flip the image. So I'm going to flip the image to appear the way you'd want. So we talked about WDR, so I hope you understand. So how do you achieve WDR settings? You go to setup. That is, at this point, you are in the web interface of the camera. That is, you are in the web browser. Go to setup, you go to camera, then conditions, then backlight mode, you select WDR, HLC. So depending on your situation. So we talked about these functions. If you want to control the PTZ, if the camera is a PTZ, just go to basic live, and then you go to PTZ control. You can move the camera depending on your site. So intelligent PTZ control, like scan. We'll talk about these functions later. So maybe let me just highlight on them. A scan means that you are having the camera, the PTZ moving automatically by itself. It will move from this point to another. So preset means the PTZ will be at certain position, like it will be seeing somewhere at a certain time. So maybe at 1 p.m. it will be viewing one side, at 2 p.m. another different side. A tour is like scan, but it is applied different way. Pattern the same thing. We'll come and check these functions later, how they differ and how we can achieve them. So video encoding. So we talked before, we talked about encoding, different encoding methods that the camera supports. So it's good to choose always the highest. So the camera can support H.264, H.265. So depending on your NVR side, but it's good always to go to the H.265 or H.265 plus. So if you are viewing videos on the interface of the camera, you can view the live view, subscreen or main screen, or substream 1 or substream 2. So if you switch from mainstream to substream 2, the video quality will be a bit lower. So basically, these are just some of the functions. Intelligent detection. So you can select IVS. So how do you select this? How can you achieve this tripwire? We'll do it practically, but now it's just more of theory. So how do you achieve this tripwire? You go to enable function, then you go to setup, event, smart plan. Then you select this, something like a bulb here. After enabling it, you can draw the side and determine what happens in case the violation of this occurs. How can you default the camera? You go to setup, system, default, then you can do factory default or default. If you just do default, all configuration except IP address and accounts are set to default. If you do factory, it will come like a new device that will become uninitialized. How do you check the version? You go to system, information, and version. How do you upgrade? So you go to system, upgrade, then you select the file. So at this point, you have the file in your computer, you browse for it, select it, then you do upgrade. So if you don't upgrade, if you upgrade the camera with a wrong firmware, it might result to device malfunction. That is, the camera will be rendered useless, or it might not work, and at times it's hard to fix such cases. How do you reset the password? You can click forgot password. Then you'll have the instructions on your screen, on your computer screen. You can follow it. So it will tell you download the Easy4IP app, or you can download GDMSS. Then you go to Me, settings, then you scan. The password will be sent to your email, the reset code. You put the reset code here, then you click next. Some of the frequently asked questions for IP camera. So how to determine if the image color abnormality of IPC is called by ICR? So remember we talked the function of ICR, infrared cut something filter. So ICR means that it removes the reddish or pinkish image. So sometimes you might have a reddish or pinkish image. So how do you know if the ICR is damaged? So you can put your ear close to the device, then switch it to day and night mode, and you can check if there is sound. If you hear something like a click, it will show you that it is switching between day and night. That's where you'll know whether the ICR is working or not. So at the same time, the scene of the problem's lens can also look at the green object. General ICR struck green objects will tend to be pink. So if you are having problem with the ICR, you will have pinkish image instead of black and white or colorful. If you see a brown stripe, how to solve it? This is the flicker phenomenon, which can be solved by limiting the shutter speed to 10 multiples, such as 0 to 10 or 0 to 20. If you see a brown stripe on the screen, brown stripe. So electric zoom devices don't focus on the web. So you can do restore the initial position of the motor. So electric zoom, you're having problems trying to zoom with the camera. I think you can restore the camera to default. Maybe another problem you can face is, can you connect our camera to third-party PoE switch? So a PoE protocol or PoE plus can, but high PoE cannot. So you remember when we were talking about these protocols in transmission, power over Ethernet. So power over Ethernet 802.1T and 802.1F. So that one is an international protocol standard that can be used with any switch. But if you try to connect to PoE plus, that is PoE plus is DAWA protocol and can only work with DAWA switches. But for normal PoE, you can use third-party PoE. Maybe some other question includes, why is the equipment time restored to 2000? So sometimes you might have your camera time is 2000, it cannot change. Or if it reboots, goes back to 2000. The reason as to why is because the camera is old and the battery is exhausted and cannot charge again. So that's why you might face a problem of having time at 2000. If you forget password, you can press the reset button for 5 seconds to trigger. Actually, it's 15 to 20 seconds. So the easiest way to reset a camera password is you press the reset button for some time. So Wdr installation. So installing hard disk. So you can use the new cables. I think it's usually shipped with it. So it's just the same as the HD camera. So hard disk model. So also remember we talked about the surveillance hard disk and PC hard disk. So it's good to use only the surveillance hard disk for such case. Sometimes you might plug in your hard disk to your NVR and you find that the mouse is not working. So the hard disk is usually the problem. Some of the NVR support this kind of installation mode. So these are very old NVR models. I just slide in. So these are quite old models. So for the interfaces, I think you're familiar with it. Connecting to monitor, you can use either VGA or HDMI. This is just something easy. Maybe talk about a bit of these settings. I'll do a training on all our softwares that we have, different kinds of softwares that we offer. Then you can. For now, I'm not going to talk about config tool. So initializing, setting the basic information like IP address, username and password, etc. It's just something easy. So I think this is just some easy information, like nothing complex from this side. Maybe it's something to note. So you can add Dahua cameras or even third-party cameras like Vision and Uniview into our DVR, sorry, NVR or XVR also. So how do you achieve that? You can do for Dahua products, you can do device search. So it will automatically search the devices in the network. Here at the bottom, there is the device search. Then for Dahua, you need to use the port, this port. If you're going to use a third-party camera like Uniview or Vision, you need to use the port 80. So then modify the password. So if you connect a PoE camera to Dahua's NVR directly, it will automatically bind the channel, and the port is the same with the physical port number. So port 1 to 16, usually the PoE number ports for the NVR is 16, the maximum number. So if you plug it in port 1, it will be channel number 1, and there's no need to change to add camera to that port. Maybe some of the common problems while having NVR. So you might have a display problem on the NVR with invalid username and password. This one is obvious. Confirm the password of the camera. You might have the problem of cannot find a network host. So you need to confirm the NVR and the cameras are in the same network segment. So if, like for example, if you have 192.168.1.100 and a mask of 2/24, you need to confirm everything in the same network segment. So Flurry understands more what I mean by network segment. So for an on-VIF camera, that is a third-party camera with this kind of error, the login return time is up. You need to confirm the network connection, that is the physical connection between the switches and the NVR and the cameras. See, this is because it's trying to log into the camera, but that time is not sufficient. So you need to check the connection. And also the camera needs to be able to supporting the on-VIF protocol. That is, the camera should support this on-VIF protocol. If it is a Dahua camera and you're having this problem, you need to confirm about conflict in the network. So you need to confirm this IP address is not being used. And also, maybe the camera and the NVR are not compatible. That is, maybe you're using very old cameras with a newer version of, sorry, very old NVR with a newer version of cameras. So you can use the Rstp protocol to get a video stream. So how do you achieve that? You go to management network connection, then you select the Rstp port. I think I'll cover about Rstp port another time, because this is just like it's more of advanced section of video surveillance, because it talks more of the various ways to access the video stream from the camera. So it's a bit complex. It's something different, and it's mostly used for troubleshooting purposes. I'll cover later on this Rstp. So encode configuration. So this is just the same thing we talk about in analog cameras. So you go to camera settings, encode. So you can select the audio encoding, even the snapshot. So preview, live view. If you need to change the sequence, it's just the same from this version, new version interface of the NVR. And maybe some common problems. A black screen. So it's just fixed the same way as the XVR as we talked about before. So check the decoding, the encode mode, and need to enable the substream or the mainstream of the camera. So video tour, same thing, because the interface is more of the same thing. So maybe let me just talk about another problem that you might face. Sometimes you have these NVR versions that have multiple HDMI outputs. Then if you plug into one of the HDMI, you get a problem like decode disable. So decode disables means that that interface is not enabled. So what you need to do, you go to display settings, then you need to enable the extra screen. That is the subscreen. You'll be able to view something on the screen, and the decode disable error will get lost. So at times you might have you might want to connect to multiple display. That is, you are having the NVR has maybe 2 ports of HDMI. You want port number 1 to display maybe channels 1 to 30, and maybe port number 2 displays 2 to connect the rest of the channels. So how do you achieve that? You would enable the extra screen first. Then you, on the live view, you just click right click, then you go to the sub port. So sub port means the sub screen. Then you'd add those channels there. I'll demonstrate later on it how to achieve this. So if you just select the sub port, it will take you to the second screen. Now you have same menu on the second screen and be able to add the cameras. So it's like switching between 2 screens and be able to control screens independently to achieve the function of display on multiple screens. So for storage, it's just more of the same thing we talked about before. Nothing different, nothing complex. Maybe we'll just go to the intelligence part. So for AI intelligence configuration in NVR is a bit different. You just go to right click on the main menu, then go to AI. You go to AI parameter. So the AI for NVR is more, and you have different options for the AI functions. So AI by device, so you can do AI by camera and AI by device. So if you want to do AI by camera, you go to parameter, you go to smart plan, enable channel. We'll come and do these functions so that it will be clear and easy to know. So we'll come and do this practical. It's easier if we do practical, and I'll prepare the session for the same. So maybe we might want to do AI preview mode. That is, if you're going to do like something like face recognition and you want the result to be displayed on the screen in real time, just like right click on the live view, go to preview mode, then you go to AI mode. It will display the AI functions that you are doing analysis at that time. Doing default settings or resetting the device. So you can do from the menu, or you can do hardware reset. So the easiest reset you can do is hardware reset, because it takes less time and it's easy to do. Just press the button for some time and you might reset. So this applies to DVR side, mostly DVR. For NVR, you might lack it. So everything is repeating. Maybe some of the frequently asked questions regarding NVR include, you forgot password, so you can do reset on hardware or using the email, or you can send the device to us. We have tools that you can use to reset, or maybe you can send it to your nearest distributor and it will be reset. You might find an issue with the camera did not show video on the NVR. So if it did not show video, you will have the reason on the interface of the camera on the NVR. It will show you the reason why the camera is not displayed. You might have another issue like your NVR cannot detect the hard disk. That is, you have plugged in the hard disk, but your NVR is not showing that the hard disk is connected. So maybe the reason include, and most likely it's the hard disk is broken, or the cable connecting the hard disk to the NVR is damaged. Maybe the cable is loose, and maybe the SATA port on the board is broken. So it's more of physical problem than the actual operation of the device. So some other part we talk about platform, DSS installation and configuration. So I don't know why they have included this one in the training, but it's fine. We'll just go through it. So from this beginning part, in a surveillance of a network, of an IP system surveillance, you can see we have a IPC. This one you understand. You can see you have a switch. You can see you have NVR. So there's this part, the DSS server. Now this is more like a platform. So this is a platform for managing this camera. You can use to manage this switch. You can use to manage the NVR. And if you had a network keyboard, it can manage that one. And mostly the DSS server can manage any of our product. That is the active products in the network. So we talk about this platform, what it is. So the implementation of such kind of a server is either hardware or software. So for this case, this one is an hardware DSS server. Maybe you can have a Dell server, then install the DSS software server. It's just more of a platform. So how do we install such? We just go through the basics. Then I'll do a session on the same about DSS later. So if you have a software, you double click it, of course. Then you have read the agreement and select it. So you just leave the information by default. Then you click run. So if it's a server, so the server contains multiple processes. So if you have interacted with the server before, so we have maybe to mention some of the processes that exist. So you can see web service. The web service will enable you to access the web interface of the DSS, like give you an interactive UI. So it has the secure and unsecure port. We have video management system. We have other functions that control. So these are more like services in the server. We have a MySQL. We have even others that do specific functions to achieve that one big platform or the server properties of the DSS. So this is the server software. You can change the language. So, or maybe you can change the IP address, and it can support even public IP address setting. So basically you just click here and change the IP address, click OK. So if you want to download the client, that is the software that will interact with you as a user. You go to the web interface of the DSS, it will prompt you to have a client install. Download the client, then install it on your local computer. So at this point, you have a design where you have maybe a Dell server running somewhere in the server room, installed which has the DSS server software installed in it. And maybe you are in another part of the building having your computer, a normal PC. You type the IP address of the server in your web browser, then you get this page. You download the client, install it in your computer. So at this point, you're running client server architecture. So the interface for DSS, this one is a bit old, but you can see you can have maybe just to highlight it, you can have live views. You can have playback. You can search playback from the devices. You can have maps. That is, you are having, you display a visual display of like a normal map, like a Google map, but in that Google map, you have like access control placed somewhere, you have cameras placed somewhere, so that if someone is seeing the map, he or she understands well where the camera might be positioned at, or the exact position of the camera. Yes, you have functions like video wall. You have personnel management. So for this case, if you're doing things like access control, you can manage everyone, their cards, their information in this platform. You can do management of access control devices. You can even do time attendance systems. So if you have A good example is if you're implementing a system in a bank where they need time attendance. Maybe at the HQ, you might have the DSS server running. And then at the branches where they have the different HR, you can install the server client software in their computers, and you can limit them to access only the attendance solutions. It's a very good platform. You can do video intercom. Later we'll talk about this one, but not in VSS. Maybe just to, I don't know why they have DSS in this course, but maybe just to mention. So all this information will later come and do and review on the same, because it's something that you need to be able to achieve it, to get to know it practically. So something that I'll demonstrate remote, but it's also practical, also for the NVR camera, etc. So just to highlight, you can add devices, you can do user management, create different users and different permissions, in which manner you want. So you can also do configuration of devices, and you can access the user manual. So this one, again, I'll repeat, I'll do a session on the same, which is practical and the better way to achieve this. So you can add any of the device, you can add cameras, you can add NVR, you can add EVS, IVSS, any of them, and do configuration of them. You can also view cameras lively. That is, you have in your computer, and the software can be able to pull video stream from the camera via the server. So you can search for videos. That is, you can search videos both at the NVR, at the EVS, and you can, if you have added only NVR in the server, and you want to view the videos, depending on the channel, it will pull the NVR into the platform and display all the cameras connecting to the NVR, so that you can select which channel or which camera you want to view the playback video from the NVR side. It's a very good platform. So if you're going to do big projects, it's good to implement this such case. And also it supports alarm controllers, which we have as DAWA. So you can do even intelligent functions, you can do configurations, quite a lot of things which I'll cover when we're talking about softwares that we have. Maybe some of the frequently asked questions. Yes, sorry.
Sorry, is there any there's no difference with smart PSS, DSS, the software? So not the same?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You're talking about smart PSS.
Yeah, smart DSS.
So, as I said before, later I'll do session on softwares that we have as DAWA.
Okay.
So, but maybe to answer your question quickly, you have interacted with smart PSS, yes?
Yes, yes.
So DSS is like a very big or higher version than smart PSS, because for configuration, like if you're going to do distribution setup of server installation, you can achieve it even up to 20,000 devices, like 20,000 cameras in that DSS devices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a high-end smart PSS. The same way you have smart PSS limited to 64 cameras. For DSS, maybe hardware DSS, you can have 1,000 cameras.
Yes.
Or maybe software like DSS, you can buy license for different number of channels that you have.
Okay.
So it's usually referred to as pay-as-you-go service, meaning if you get the software, install it in a Dell server, you only get to pay for. Maybe if you want to have maybe 100 cameras in your network, you only pay for that cameras. If in the future you have access control systems and you need to add them in your platform, you can buy license and add it. So it's pay-as-you-go service.
Okay.
So I'll talk about it when I'm doing the overview of the softwares that we have as a company, which you interact with on your software. Some of the questions include live view, offline. So this information we'll talk about it when we are going to do softwares. So Any question regarding NVR or IP-based surveillance? So there's no question. You can end today's session. So you can call it a day. If there's no other question, you guys can have a nice day. Then we meet tomorrow for a bit the practical but remote setting. So we do a practical bit of it. So we can have a nice afternoon.